Hello my friends, and welcome back to our continued blind let's play Ace Attorney Apollo Justice for the PS5, the remaster. My name is FlightlessBird, this is your Sword Gaming channel, and today, April 20, 2:45 p.m., District Court Courtroom number 2. We are all alone now, as we try to solve this very not tutorial case. I mean, it is a tutorial case, but oh my gosh, the ups and downs, the turnarounds, the surprises, this case has gone everywhere, and we haven't even left the courtroom. Oh boy. Let's try to figure out what actually happened, shall we? Hope you're all having a wonderful, fantastic day today.
Court will now reconvene. Defense Attorney Christoph Gavin, please take the stand. Well, now then, if you would, Mr. Payne.
Yes, Your Honor. Well, the witness state his name and occupation. Is this first necessary, Your Honor?
Believe me, far stranger things have gone on in this courtroom. Yeah, I remember this one time there was a parrot who was a witness. Yeah, that happened.
Fine, I'll play along.
First, there's one thing we need to have made clear. How did you know about the secret beneath the victim's head?
By secret, I'm guessing that means that Mr. Smith was bald. Forgive my curiosity. What is it about that fellow's head? Your Honor seems to have an inordinate interest in it.
Objection!
Ooh. Oh ho ho! Phoenix became our bud here now. Excellent. Oh, it feels so good to have him back in the courtroom in the defense corner. I wouldn't call it inordinate, Mr. Gavin. But Mr. Wright, what do you think you're doing, Wright? Oh, this is it. This is showdown between the two hotshot lawyers, I guess. Wow. Things sure look different from the other side. You know what I mean, Apollo? Speaking of looking from the other side, let's consider something for a second. The victim wore that hat all night, except never once taken it off except that one time. Well, that one time, being an instant he was hit.
Ooh.
When Mr. Wright returned from reporting the crime, the hat was lying on the floor. Mr. Wright picked it up and placed it on the victim's head. In other words, in order to have seen Mr. Smith's bald head, you would have had to have been there in the hideout at the time of the crime. In other words, I must be the real killer. Is that what you're trying to say? Oh, the dots. Not bad, Apollo.
Mr. Gavin?
I'm afraid that I haven't been entirely honest with the court.
What?
Oh, I assure you, I had the noblest of intentions. I did it all to protect my client, Mr. Wright. Huh? Yet, I'm afraid in the current situation, I see little reason to hide anything. Very well. Allow me to tell you the truth of what happened that night.
Finally, well, you may begin your testimony. Tell us, how were you involved in the events of that fateful night?
Witness test me. That fateful night. The rage I sensed that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. It must have been right after the murder took place. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. A bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. I sensed that was not the best place for me to be at the time, and so I left. Well, that's when the call came from Wright. Yeah, that's convenient. Like, we're gonna believe that lying piece of...
So, you witnessed the murder?
For better or worse, I missed the actual moment of the deed.
Mr. Gavin, may I remind you that you are on Mr. Wright's defense team. And your testimony is clearly disadvantageous to your client.
And by the way, thank you to those in the comment section who A couple of you pointed out that it was 1-5 where the rules were introduced, not 4-5. Or I'm gonna, okay, so just to let you all know, I know this is the fourth game in this series, but for me it's the sixth. So if I say 4 dash something, it's usually referring to the Ace Attorney Investigation's first game. It may get confusing. I don't know. I just play them as I do. What else could I say? I'm standing on the witness stand after all. So, you are Mr. Gavin. And you had to testify, as you just did. You had to tell them you saw the scene of the crime through that little window. Mr. Wright? You had to say that. Because that was the only probable window of opportunity. Right, Apollo? Oh.
Mr. Wright, the defense should do the cross-examination, not the defendant. Mr. Justice, are you prepared?
Yes, Your Honor. I can't believe I'm going up against Mr. Gavin. This trial is getting weirder and weirder. Yes, it is. Those are my exact sentiments. Cross-examination, not fateful night. The rage I sensed that man that night troubled me, so I returned to the club. I know, I had to press. I hit the wrong button. That man, you mean Mr. Smith? He was different from the other customers. His aura, shall we say. I knew he was a serious poker player, but it was more than that.
So then, you knew the true nature of your client's job?
Oh, of course, but I also knew he wasn't engaged in gambling, which would be illegal. Well, it makes sense that, they were friends after all. Worried for my friend, I returned to the club. You see, I fear this Mr. Smith might be someone coming to sell an old score.
I see. What happened then?
Oh, I went down to the basement and peeked in through the little window to the hideout. The little window. You mean the one used to keep Oich on the stairs? Yes, a relic of the ancient past. The Black Marketeers used it, I believe. Why did you go through the trouble of peeking in through the window? Wouldn't it have been easier just to open the door and go into the room? I didn't want to upset Wright, you see. Upset Mr. Wright? Well, yes, one of my fears have been unfounded. I'd be walking in on the match. It's bad form, to say the least. So far, everything you say makes sense. It must have been right after the murder took place. How do you know it was right after the murder? Well, really, it's no need to shout, Mr. Justice. Irk. I was just getting to that part in my testimony. Ah, there he is. The coolest defense in the West we know and love. Even when you're standing up there on the witness stand, some things never change. I was afraid you'd change too, right? But you haven't. You and that overbearing personality of yours. With friends like these, who needs enemies? I think they are enemies now. The victim was dead, as he appears in the photo. By photo, you mean the second photograph of the crime scene? Precisely. You see, he wasn't wearing his hat then. I saw his head when he was dead. Hey, that rhymed. And then Mr. Wright came along and replaced his hat.
Can you describe the scene of the crime for us?
Well, a bald head, an unconscious girl, and Wright holding a bottle in his hand. Those were the only three at the site of crime? Well, yes, as far as I saw, at least.
Well then, we're back where we started. The killer was the defendant. Phoenix Wright. Who else could it have been? But why didn't you talk to the police?
Two reasons. First, I didn't actually witness the very moment of the crime. And second, my office was asked to defend Wright. Even after seeing what I've seen, I couldn't abandon my friend. There must have been someone else there at the moment of the crime. Justice. I just said I saw no one, not a soul. But that goes against what Mr. Wright said. Yes. This mysterious fourth person. Who would conveniently be the real killer, I suppose. Glad to see we agree, Mr. Gavin. Well, let me pose a question then. Tell me, what possible reason did the real killer have to swap the cards in the victim's hand? Huh? Perhaps you could show us a reason why such a thing would be necessary. How can I show something I can't find myself? Remember, Apollo, the card that was swapped out was the 5th ace. The fifth ace, right.
Well, Mr. Justice, the question of why the killer would swap out a card has been raised. Can you point to a reason?
Because there's blood on the card. There's blood on the card. Right? I'm gonna say not yet because I still want to cycle through the responses. No, not yet, Your Honor.
Not yet. Ha! Pathetic. Not yet. Try not ever.
Well, Mr. Gavin.
Oh, I'm willing to wait for as long as it takes. Great, I don't even know what the heck I'm looking for. Apollo. Yes, sir? Don't forget, you already know the answer. You just don't realize it yet. I already know the answer? Take a moment to think it over again, okay? I sensed I was not the best time to me to be at the time, and so I left. Wouldn't it have been better to wait for the police to arrive? Well, remember though, by that time I was already Wright's defense attorney. It wouldn't do for me to become part of the investigation. That makes sense. Or does it? I'm confused.
Well, what happened next?
Well, that's when the call came from Wright. Where were you when the phone call came? Well, I had already left the Borscht Bowl Club by that time. On the phone, he asked me to defend him, so naturally, I was surprised. I accepted, however, I couldn't abandon him. So kind of you. So far, everything jives with Mr. Wright's testimony, I think. Is it going to be a problem for you to cross-examine your own boss? He looks so much more like Phoenix Wright in this picture than he did on the stand. I'm fine. Who was it that taught me never to pull punches in cross-examination? It was you, Mr. Gavin. I learned it from you watching you. Alright, so let's go back to this one, is it? The third one? Oh, before we do this, well, I can do this at the same time. Is our objection? I mean, he is the fourth person, right? Come on, we can do this. It's now or never. The defense would like to present evidence to the court. Evidence showing the reason why a card was swapped out.
Then go ahead and point out your reason, Mr. Justice. Why did the killer take the 5th ace?
Because it had blood on it. Right? A single drop of blood marks the front of the card. Because it has blood on it, right? My reason is, this!
Is that an ace?
Why, it's got blood on it. Right next to the spade.
What? Oh, there's a twitch. I see a twitch.
This is insane. Why wasn't I told about this? Why?
Could this be? Could this be the missing 5th ace?
Inconceivable. How could you? What are you doing with that card? Well, that's the thing. Why is Mr. Gavin so upset? It's just a fishy card from some fishy girl. Oh, that card? It's mine. That is, I picked it up at the Borscht Bowl Club that night after the murder had occurred. I gave it to my daughter. Cards are her stock in trade, after all. Can't wait to meet more of his daughter. She seems so cool. She seems like the Pearl type character, except not, because it seems almost like she's Pearl and Emma. No, not Emma. Maya. Sorry. She seems almost like she's Pearl and Maya put together into one character. So you have like the childlike, and then you have the powers, and then the two together makes her. I don't know if that's right or not. I'm just going by feels and vibes. But either way, I'm super excited to see her because I have a feeling she's gonna be more in the focus. I think she may actually be more the focus in this game than Phoenix Wright. Now, that may turn out to be wrong. But then again, we have seen Phoenix a lot. We haven't seen his daughter at all. So I wonder if she's gonna become like our assistant, so to speak.
No, impossible, unacceptable. The court can't accept this evidence. It's a fraud.
A fraud? How can you be so sure?
What?
I would think the only one person who could claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene. The real killer. So is a card a fake? Is this card a fake just to trap him? Oh, so that's so genius. Allow me to elaborate. What if this trace of blood was the reason?
The reason for
the killer to take the card from the scene of the crime.
Where are you going with this?
Well, take another look at the photo and at the victim's head. At the moment of the crime, his hat fell to the floor, and a trickle of blood from his forehead ran down the back of his head. Couldn't a drop of that blood have fallen on one of the cards? I suppose. The killer then took the card to hide the blood.
Regardless, the evidence is not permissible.
Oh?
Right. Regardless of how you wasted the last 7 years, you used to be a lawyer. You know what a serious crime is to conceal evidence.
Oh, we can discuss the finer points of our legal system later. What's important now is that I've answered your question. Well, what are you talking about? You wanted to know why the killer would have taken a card from the crime scene. And now, I've told you. That one drop of blood would have been decisive evidence, you see.
This is baseless conjecture. Baseless!
objection.
Oh, we got the finger point! We got the finger point!
Oh, I assure you it's quite based.
What?
It's amazing, really, how a single drop of blood on a single card can lead us to the truth. It's quite simple. Well, Apollo.
Yes?
Try picturing the scene of the crime in your head.
Whoa, this is cool.
The murder took place in the hideout. The body of the luckless victim was found at the poker table. And before the killer swapped a card out, there was a single card with a drop of blood on it in the victim's hand. Given this, there is one decisive problem with this scene.
Well, what is it?
Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on the card, whose position in this diagram doesn't fit? The victims, the killers, the witnesses, the second witnesses. Whose position doesn't fit with the bloody card? Are you saying it would be impossible to see from this vantage point?
The second witness's position is a problem. The second witness? Well, that would be Mr. Given, yes?
The second witness's position is far less problematic than yours right now, Justice. Or perhaps perilous is a better word.
Ugh. I cannot see what the bloodstained card has to do with the second witness's location. I'm afraid you're more than a penalty this time.
Oh, that was right. Your Honor, one more chance, please.
I suppose. Do you think it over it, Mr. Justice?
Let's keep it simple, shall we? Given that there was a drop of blood on a card, this position type doesn't fit. The victims, the killers. Okay, so maybe what he's saying is, I'm running out of Alpar here. Maybe what he's saying is this guy, because if his head's backward, the blood would have fell down here. You wouldn't have seen the blood fall down here. You would have seen the blood fall here. You would have seen the blood fall here, but you would not have seen the blood fall backwards. Well, for one thing, the killer's in the wrong place, I think.
You, think? Mr. Justice, your job here is not to think, but to know.
Just looking at you reminds me of the old days. Well, not the good old days, per se.
How does a good old panty sound?
Oh, come on!
Let's try that one more time. Mr. Justice, better think before you sink.
Come on. Well, maybe it is the victim. Except the victim should be over here. And I picked the killer, picking the wrong spot. I really want to see what happens when you completely fail. Because that's been a, there's some games in this series. I think there was one game in the series that had like a special failure ending. And considering I only have one health point left, it's not wasting a lot of time to check it out.
The problem with this picture is, here somewhere. When exactly is supposed to be here?
My hand must have slipped. So what do you know?
Oops, I just gave you a penalty. Hand must have slipped. Well, that's enough. I see no need to further prolong this trial. The defense's case is insufficient to overturn the prosecution claim. This court finds the defendant Phoenix Wright guilty. Defendant will surrender himself to the court's care to undergo a regular trial at the High Court within a month's time. Court is adjourned.
Yeah, I think that's I think we can call that like a special entry. I mean, a special ending in a way, because that was tailored to the accused. I can only imagine though every other fail state is basically going to be the same thing, except say the accused name instead of Phoenix Wright. So I don't think I need to purposely fail in the future. And I didn't purposely fail here. I just failed. I indeed just failed. That seemed different. Yeah, that was different. Hold on. Let me read this, because that was actually unique. Please tell me this virus has a time limit.
Well, the will says that if the defense cannot come up with something of substance, so please wipe the cold sweat from your hands and show us again.
Yes, Your Honor. I'm gonna need a beach towel. Yeah, that was new. That was cool. Okay, so did I already choose this one though? Did I already choose this one? I chose that one. Chose that one. Did I choose this one? Is it her that's wrong? I don't remember which one I chose. Let me choose this one. The witness location is clearly odds with something.
By witness, you mean Miss Ogo really, correct?
Well, that's right. When it comes to cards, it's quick fingers or really or no one.
I see. And?
Was I supposed to say something else?
A meaningful observation would help your case considerably.
Yet, do you not sense a great feeling of potential in this silence?
Potential for a whooping penalty, yes.
Your Honor, please give me another chance.
Very well. Give it some thought this time. Stop being an idiot and just choose the right spot.
Well, isn't it the victim's position that's the problem?
I don't follow your logic here, Miss Justice.
Well, look, the victim was struck on the forehead, sending him back in his chair. You think any blood would fall behind the body, not onto the table in front of him? Oh. Okay. But I mean, that's sort of like the same situation of I may have just got confused on the position. Let's look at the photo again. If you bled in this position, the blood would fall on the floor. not on the cards.
Oh, that's right. So, what does this mean?
Incidentally, we were sitting in swivel chairs. Swivel chairs? Oh man. Apollo, try turning the chair around. Recreate this crime scene. Oh, that's cool.
The chair was facing the other way?
It would have to be. Yeah. So, we had to assume that at the time of the murder, the victim's chair was facing away from the table.
When Mr. Wright returned from informing the police, which way was the chair facing?
When I came back to the room, the body was facing as seen in this photo. That would mean the killer turned the chair back around. Let's take the next step. Look at the diagram once more. We know that the victim was facing away from the table at the time of the murder. But this creates another significant contradiction.
Again?
Let's test your reasoning skills again, shall we? Apollo, whose location on this diagram contradicts our new understanding of the crime? The victim. Not this again. Whose location creates a contradiction? It would be, her, right? The contradicting point is the location of the witness.
Exactly what does a witness location contradict?
That's unclear to me.
Generally, one does not announce one's own ignorance with such a plum.
I had to take pride in something. I'm not doing well with this. I'm not doing well with this at all. But I'm having fun. And I'm getting to see a bunch of great dialogue lines, so why not? I gotta make a good point of everything. It would be the killers, because the killer can't kill the victim if he's facing the other way. The victim was struck from the front, correct? Indeed. Well, wouldn't it be hard for the killer to hit him from the front? Okay, I understand this one. Cool. Sitting where his indicator currently is. I would think it'd be quite hard, yes.
Yes, but what you're saying makes no sense. Why would the victim suddenly turn to face the wall in the middle of a game?
I believe a sufficient reason will soon come to light.
What?
There's something in this diagram that makes far less sense, actually. Look again at the diagram. Apollo, if the victim was struck while he was sitting, as shown here, where would his assailant be standing? Try and mark it on the diagram. What? But, there's no room to put a mark where the killer should be? Don't worry. Let's just think this through and see what we find. We know the victim was facing toward the wall at the time of the crime. That's the only thing we know for sure. Try to forget about everything else. Where would the killer have to be standing to strike a victim from the front? It had to be right here, right? The killer had to be standing, well, here.
You get points for flair, but that's about all you get.
Heck, I thought it was onto something there too.
I hardly need to point out that standing there would be impossible.
Unless that moves. I mean, this place is a location of smuggling ring, right? So what if that's a hidden passage?
The victim is facing a solid cupboard. Or you claim the killer climbed the cupboard and hit him from above.
It's simple logic, really. If this was the only place the killer could have been standing, then that means that, at the very moment of the crime... Wait, I know. At the moment of the crime, the cupboard wasn't there.
What's this now?
I mean, yeah, logically speaking, that's why I chose that. It's the only thing that makes sense. I mean, that's the only explanation. Right, Mr. Gavin? Your Honor, I have a suggestion for the defense. We should arrange to examine the cupboard in the hideout immediately.
Bailiff, send a team to the crime scene immediately. Have them try to move the cupboard.
Your Honor.
What?
There's one more thing your men should look for. Please give this to the bailiff.
Yes, I see. You do belong in the courtroom after all, Mr. Wright.
I do my best. Or was it? Well, let's forge ahead here while we wait. Look at the diagram once again. It's been changed. If the killer was standing here at the time of the crime, then this cupboard wasn't here, which means, Apollo, try moving the cupboard. It blocks the window. Thank you. As you can see, the cupboard was the problem, and at the time of the murder, it has to have been shown as here. Now, everything is in place to reconstruct the moment of the crime. Oh my. What's this?
What is it now?
Well, look at the diagram of the crime scene once more. It appears we found yet another contradiction. What I believe to be the final contradiction, in fact. Huh? Oh dang. Notice something, Apollo. Our line of deduction is rapidly approaching its logical conclusion.
Well now then, Mr. Justice, please point to the new contradicting indicator. Is it the victim, the killer, the witness, or the second witness? Which indicator this victim diagram contradicts what we know about the crime?
That does.
Slam your fist, yes.
About this cupboard. Are we all okay with assuming it was moved? Sure, why not? Well, if it was, something really doesn't fit. The cupboard would completely cover up the window to the stairs.
Ugh.
That's right. Someone standing outside wouldn't be able to see in. Someone like Mr. Gavin. What? What did you say? Oh, is the coolest defense in the West losing his cool?
Don't expect me to play along with your little game, right?
It's only a game until someone gets killed, Mr. Gavin. And someone was, while the window to that room was blocked by a cupboard. So, Mr. Gavin, perhaps you would like to explain to the court exactly where did you witness the crime scene from?
Excuse me, Your Honor! Order! This is a court of law and I will have order!
We just have received word from our investigative team at the Borscht Bowl Club. They've examined the cupboard in the hideout, Your Honor.
Oh? And what did they find?
Well, Your Honor, turns out there is a secret passage behind it. Aha!
What?
Ah, yes. I believe I mentioned something of this sort before. This is one of the tricks to the room many of the regulars know about. I do remember him saying something about that now that he mentions it. A secret passage is a handy thing to have when you engage in illegal things going on. Never know when you might need to duck away from the eyes of the law. So the room has a secret passage. Where does it go? The other side connects to the restaurant above. The underworld bosses could get away from the cops and enjoy a cold bowl of borscht, no doubt. Just like our killer. Gotcha. You see where our line of simple deductive reasoning has led us, Apollo. I see it, but I don't believe it. That girl wasn't kidding when she said I needed this trump card for the last hand. At the time of the murder, the window was blocked and the victim's hat was only off his head for a few minutes between Mr. Smith's murder and Mr. Wright's return from calling for the cops. In other words, the only place anyone could have seen the victim's bald head was from inside the hideout. Well, Mr. Gavin, come on, say something.
Dare I ask what really happened that night?
Actually, I think we can probably figure it out ourselves at this point. That night, for whatever reason, our killer had a date with Mr. Smith. A date with destiny. There, he crouched, hidden in a secret passageway behind the cupboard, holding his breath, waiting for just the right moment. Then the chance came, and he took it. Erg! Eek! What? Why did you do that? Wait here, I'll get help. Miss Olga O'Reilly was that cold, struck by Mr. Smith. But his time was soon to come. Mr. Wright went upstairs to call the cops, leaving Mr. Shady Smith alone in the hideout with the unconscious dealer. Then our killer stepped out from the secret passage and into the hideout. The victim must have heard the cupboard sliding aside. He wheeled his chair around to look, and after the deed was done, the criminal must have seen the blood on the card. He would have, of course, realized the need to destroy the evidence. That single spot of blood told the whole story of the crime. Too bad for him, he didn't linger any longer in the hideout that night. If he had, he might have noticed the cards on the floor. And the fact that they were all red.
Well, seems this trial has taken yet another turn. And truly sorry I had to see this day come, Mr. Gavin.
Mr. Gavin?
Mr. Payne!
Yes, Your Honor.
The prosecution will continue its investigation. As to Mr. Phoenix Wright, the defendant is hereby cleared of all suspicion.
Quark!
Believe me when I say that I don't believe this is happening, Mr. Gavin. But I'm afraid circumstances call for me to issue a warrant for your arrest immediately.
Still got fight in him. Oh, no need to apologize. I rather enjoyed myself. The facade coming off? It's not every day you get to witness a legendary attorney's dirty tactics firsthand. Your point, Mr. Gavin. Frankly, Your Honor, I'm shocked. Well, that a person of your caliber would be taken in by such a low-grade parlor trick.
Excuse me?
The defendant is cleared of all suspicion. Well, this is hardly the time for jokes, Your Honor. Mr. Wright hasn't proved anyone's guilt or innocence here. What he has done is used as illegal evidence to put the blame on someone else. And not just anyone else, but me, his own defense attorney.
Illegal evidence?
Let me ask you, Mr. Gavin, is there still any reason at present to suspect me of wrongdoing? Of course. This bottle, for instance. The bottle of grape juice Mr. Wright was drinking. How do you intend to explain away the fingerprints on the murder weapon? And not just any fingerprints. Am I right, Mr. Payne? I can explain because the secret passageway goes upstairs. Mr. Wright was drinking that bottle upstairs, went into a hideout. Mr. Gavin took the bottle, went into the secret passage, hit him over the head, and then left the bottle. He was probably wearing gloves.
Actually, yes. The fingerprints on the bottle were upside down.
Huh. I seem to recall this being an issue earlier. Oh, they're upside down, which means they couldn't have just been regularly drinking it. The court, in this case, demand an explanation. I can think of only one reason why one would hold a bottle upside down, and that is to hit someone with the bottom of the bottle. Well, Your Honor. See how the caught fish swarms to the last. Well, Apollo. Yes? Your boss seems awfully concerned about this bottle still, but I'm sure you can come up with a suitable explanation, just like that. Yeah, just like what, huh? Why would anyone grab a bottle upside down other than to gulp? Don't let him trick you into thinking his explanation is the only legitimate one. Is there really another? Take another look at the court record. I believe you'll find a simple answer there, in plain sight.
How about you just say the answer to plain words? Exactly! Why does everyone have to be so dang cryptic?
It would be hasty to deliver a verdict with unanswered questions indeed.
Well, Mr. Justice, I understand why he doesn't just tell us, because in some way, I think he likes us for some reason, and he wants to see us succeed, and he knows the only way we'll succeed is if we do it on our own. Mr. Gavin said that the court, in this case, demanded an explanation. Don't worry, justice won't leave until justice is done.
Perhaps the defense would care to enlighten the court. What evidence do you have to explain why the fingerprints of the bottle are upside down?
It's a good question. Okay, let's look at the court record one more time. Cerebral hemorrhaging resulting from blood trauma to forehead. That's not gonna help us. Why would you grab it upside down? Why would you grab it upside down? You grab it upside down if you're picking it up out of a box? It's actually easier to show you than explain, Your Honor. Place that bottle on the floor, next to your chair.
Excuse me? On the floor?
Yes, now reach down and pick it up. Without getting out of your chair.
Ah, yes! Yes!
Can't believe I got that one. See? You're naturally going to pick up the bottle by its neck. So obvious. With your fingers upside down. It's so obvious when you think about it. Look at this photograph taken on the night of the murder. The defendant, Mr. Wright, sat here, playing piano, bottles of grape juice on the floor to the side of his piano bench. He would have naturally picked up the bottles upside down several times.
Well, I can't believe it was that simple.
I know. Recall our dinner that evening, Christoph. I was drinking my usual juice then, too. Basically, used the bottle on the table to do the deed. But then he must have remembered. So he went and picked up one of the bottles from under the piano. And he switched the bottles. You took one of Mr. Wright's bottles and made it look like the murder weapon.
Order, order, order! What do you have to say to these charges, Mr. Gavin?
It's fascinating. So, this is the legendary attorney's famed tactic of misdirection. Dude, you're busted. Give up. You're like the guy from 1-5 who wouldn't just stop. Just kept going. What? You claim that I switched the bottle? Where is your proof? For proof? Well, that's as I thought. More baseless conjecture. I'm afraid your bottle of proof is quite empty.
Objection!
I wouldn't be so sure about that. Your Honor, when you initiated the investigation of the hideout earlier, do you recall I requested an additional investigation?
Ah, yes. I have your memo about that right here. Retrieve the bottles from under the piano at the Borscht Bowl Club. And here's one of the bottles in question.
What are you going to test it for fingerprints too? I would be surprised if anyone that but his. Mr. Gavin probably wouldn't make such an honest mistake, true. That bottle wouldn't bear a trace of anything. Say, Apollo. Yes? Why don't you go ahead and examine that bottle? But why? Just humor me. Mr. Wright, that bottle will solve this case once and for all. What? That's some bottle. The card's here. He hasn't lied. He did put the card in the bottle. Huh? There's something inside the bottle. What's this? That card. It can't be. Recall that unpleasant woman's testimony for a moment. Miss Olga, really? Yes, our little swindling Davochka. Well, that night, I planted the card like I was supposed to. And Wright lost the last hand, just like he was supposed to. Then Smith searched him. But the planted card was gone. The trap failed. Wait, this isn't... You told me that this is the planted card that you disposed of? The one that you mentioned in this piece of testimony? I happened to put my hand in my pocket and found the card. Yes, I stuck a peek at it and found it was a 5 of hearts. I had a feeling something might happen, so I disposed of the card before the game.
Disposed? Where?
Well, there was an empty bottle of grape juice I had been drinking right beside me. I threw the card inside the bottle. The 5 of hearts. This is the card. The bottles were swapped, and the only one who could have done that was the 4th person in the club that night. You, Mr. Christoph Gavin. And there goes the comic zero. Look at the lobster in the background.
Yeah.
That is all.
Okay, now I can see it. Gotcha.
Is this your idea of revenge, Phoenix Wright?
Revenge?
Revenge for the events that took away your attorney's badge 7 years ago. Huh. My past is like my logic, straight and true. Nothing's changed. All I did was point the finger of justice in the proper direction. Fine. I'm glad we could have this little tete-a-tete, right?
This is insane. What about me? Don't I get to buzz get anyone?
Well, I believe this time. Yeah. Any objections? Just waiting. Alright. I believe this time we finally come to the end of our trail. Mr. Payne, do you have to report for us on Christoph Gavin?
I submitted everything. We're pressing his arrest now. Yes!
I see, still. One has to wonder why he would do such a thing. He didn't even have a connection to the victim, did he?
None that we know of.
No, but he had a connection with Phoenix.
Mr. Wright, have you anything to add?
I'm afraid I can't shed any more light on the matter.
Well, about this victim, Mr. Shady Smith. His occupation was this as traveler. Was a non-profession to be sure, and that's all we know about him.
I'll arrange a follow-up investigation, Your Honor.
Good. Mr. Wright?
Yes.
7 years. You still haven't lost your touch.
Christoph Gavin was a man with much more significance for me, both as a friend and as a lawyer.
He was extremely talented, to be sure.
I needed 2 things before I could confront him. The first was a place where no injustice would be tolerated, this courtroom. The second was a man who would tolerate no injustice. In other words, a defense attorney. You, Apollo.
Me?
This is a dark time for our legal system. A twisting of justice brought on by our very own initial trial system. We had to set it right. Mr. Wright, our work lies ahead of us, and I, for one, am looking forward to it. So am I.
Well, it seems like a good time to announce the verdict. This court finds the defendant, Mr. Phoenix Wright, not guilty.
Huzzah! Oh, what a heck of a first case.
Court is adjourned.
April 20th, 4:28 p.m. District Court, Defendant Lobby Number 3. Thanks, Apollo. Get the victory music. You came through, just like I thought you would. I'm pretty sure I didn't do a thing in there. It was you who cornered Mr. the killer. I couldn't have done it by myself. You substitute today, didn't you? Your ability. Ability? Yes. A sensitivity I lack. You'll come to understand it soon enough. Wait, I wonder if he means... I have one question of the witness then. You say you saw the moment the defendant hit the victim. Is this true? Of course, it's true. What's this weird vibe I'm getting? What? What was that, Mr. Wright? You'll have to find the answer to that question yourself. The answer, right. Today was full of questions without answers. Most of them about Mr. Gavin. What possible reason could he have had to commit murder? Perhaps you'll learn that in the days to come. Huh? Wait, you don't know? Do you? This locket is the key. Huh? Oh, that reminds me. I met the girl whose picture is in your locket. Your daughter, right? That's right. She's my daughter. You know, you were right about this locket. Eh? I took this off of his neck the night he died. But it looks like our dear Russian scam artist saw me. So the truth is, this locket really did belong to him. Wait, but that's perjury! You testified! You said that the locket was yours! I said no such thing, actually. Huh? I merely said that it was a locket with my daughter's picture inside. A subtle distinction, but a distinction nonetheless. And it's the truth. Wait, but then why? Why was the victim wearing a locket with a picture of your daughter inside it? Sometimes the straightest path to the truth isn't the best one. Give it time. You're still just getting started with your career. Speaking of which, I may be out of job. I work for Gavin Law Offices after all. I still can't believe I just saw Mr. Gavin get led away in handcuffs. Huh. Apollo. Yes? How about coming to work for me? Huh? You mean at the Wright Incorporated law offices? I mean, there's not a single attorney in my generation that doesn't know it. I can't imagine that to be true, but... Wait, but didn't you? You're not a, Oh, I turned in my badge, yes. I'm not an attorney anymore. That incident 7 years ago. That legendary trial. And at the middle of it all was one man, Phoenix Wright. The case reached a sad conclusion, and he left law for good. Have you ever thought about coming back to the courts? I'm not qualified to stand in the court of law, I'm afraid. Did you notice in today's trial, there was a single piece of forged evidence? What? Forged evidence? What are you talking about? I'm talking about evidence that shouldn't have existed. A naughty magician's trick. Oh, the card? One piece of evidence struck me as odd, it's true. It just seemed, well, too perfect. I'll bet this was the forged evidence. You mean this? Don't you? I got this from your daughter, Mr. Wright. Yes, that card couldn't have been found at the crime scene. Why? Because the killer took it with him when he left, leaving the wrong card in its place, luckily for us. The court can accept this evidence is a fraud. A fraud? How can you be so sure? I would think the only person who would claim it was a fraud would be the one who took the real card from the crime scene, the real killer. My verdict was already handed down 7 years ago. Then, you really... Yes, I forged this card. One look at the crime scene should have told you it wasn't real. But you can't do something like that and call yourself an attorney. Well, who's calling themselves an attorney, Apollo? So it's true. The rumor is true. 7 years ago. Huh. None of that matters now, does it? Huh? I punched him. Huh. It's your story from here on out, Apollo. Perhaps I can help you turn to the next page. My office's address. Drop in if you like. Mr. Wright. Oh, about your uppercut. Try yelling. Take that next time. I find it packs a little more punch. And Apollo, thanks for today. I had a good time. And with that, Mr. Wright walked out the door. And that's how my first trial ended. A lot of mysteries went unsolved. And at the time, I had no idea they were all related. Every mystery that day, connected by a single thread of logic. I'd find that out soon enough. My name is Apollo Justice, attorney at law, and this is how my story begins. Woohoo! What a great first case. I mean, okay, so what does a first case need to do? A first case needs to like introduce new players to mechanics, a tutorial. And a lot of previous first cases were just straight up tutorial cases. There is no mystery, there is no, well, I mean, there's mystery. What I mean is there's no real doubt about who the killer is. Okay, I can't say that. There is doubt. What I'm saying is it doesn't get complicated. How's that? It doesn't get complicated. It's mostly straightforward. Most first cases have, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 people involved, and there's one that's more obvious than the others that this is probably the killer, because it can't be anyone else. It can't be the lawyers or anything like that. It's not the judge, you know. And so you really only have 2 people that you may be juggling at once at most. In this case, you had the tutorial mechanics, which you need, but then you had the obvious thing, which is, oh, it's obviously, oh really? Because that's her name. Oh really? Oh really? It's her. I mean, come on, it's gotta be her. And then they do this thing where they turn this case completely on its head and basically say, no, this is not gonna be how we start this game. We're gonna start this game by just ramming you into a wall at full speed, and you're gonna crash, and you're gonna realize this is what Apollo Justice is all about. It's about the mystery, it's about the shock, it's about the, you know, you can't trust anything anymore. Anyone could be a potential killer now. It's not just the people you investigate, it could be the person on the other side. And I know there have been instances like this in previous Ace Attorney games, but usually they come towards the end of the game, not at the beginning. So right away, it sets the stage for anything goes. Legitly, anything could happen in this game. And I think this is I don't think it's maybe, I'm pretty sure this is the best tutorial case ever. However, this is a double-edged sword. However, this raises the bar really, really, really high. And if case number 2 can't follow this high, oh, that's gonna be problematic. Now, the third Ace Attorney game, if I'm not mistaken, had a similar first case, and the first case there set up future cases like I believe this one does, but I think this one just had a lot more gravitas to it with its shock reveal of who the murderer is. So I'm a little bit concerned for the future cases, but at the same time, it's hard not to be super excited to think of the possibility that future cases are gonna be even better than this one, which will make this game absolutely amazing. Yeah, I'm super excited for this. I hope you guys are super excited as well. I was told, hey, Flightless, you know, it helps when you tell us your thoughts about the case at the end of the case. And that's basically my thoughts. I think it's crazy. It's insane. I really want to meet his daughter. And I have a theory. Okay, I have a theory. My theory is that the girl is not his daughter. Well, not his birth daughter. I think she may be adopted. And there's going to be a mystery surrounding her. And maybe that ties into the case 7 years ago. Like, something happened 7 years ago, and he realized I don't know. I don't know why I'm going with this line of thought. I just think that maybe she could be adopted. Now, there's nothing wrong with being adopted. I have adopted family members and their family. But still, I just wonder if there's a mystery surrounding the girl that's gonna come front and center eventually. We'll see. We'll see. We'll see together. Have a wonderful, fantastic day, my friends. And until next time, so long and take care. Thank you for watching this video. Feel free to comment on what you saw and what you'd like to see next. I always love to hear your thoughts. But before we go, please remember that you matter, and you are brilliant, and you are loved, and you should always be true to yourself. Never let the world tell you any different. Much love to you from your friendly, feathered, flightless bird.